Welcome back to another episode of The Golden Seams. Today we're continuing The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. We're going to pick up at a very auspicious moment, exploring further the ideas of imperfection.
And perfectionism. Charlie Mackesy makes a note here about the picture that he's got in the book, and he says his dog literally walked across the drawing while it was drying, clearly trying to make the point that the greatest illusion is that life should be perfect. It's so funny. And then, in addition to that, he ends up having tea and he has a teacup stain on the drawing. It is so perfect in its imperfection. The story goes on. The boy asks, "Is it the moon?" The mole says, "It's a teacup stain. And where there's tea, there's cake." If you and me and all of us can actually enjoy perfection of the imperfection, my dad always used to say that I always had this attitude. It's mostly sarcasm. There must be a pony in here somewhere. Silver linings will get you through so much if you can just see them in the situation. If you can
Yeah,
just let yourself experience and see the silver linings and just step back, everything is
absolutely.
funny.
Without the overlay of expectations or right and wrong, it's like you're left with the eyes of wonder and just having like a different experience instead of the drawing being ruined by the dog or by the tea. It's a moon in context to the story of it. Like, like that's so powerful. Like there's like an alchemy in that in and of
Yes.
itself too. That's really powerful.
Obviously, when I'm saying everything is funny, I'm talking about life in general. I'm not talking about tragedies. I'm not talking about things that obviously need our attention in that area. I'm talking about when you're getting through the day to day of life. The one barometer that we all have is when you feel overburdened, that's the sign. Step back.
Yeah.
When you're reactionary, that's the sign. You're overburdened, step back. That's the day that you go and you've got to take that space for yourself. You've got to be playful. You've got to do the nothing. That's where
Yeah.
you know that. That is your barometer. That's your compass telling you that. He goes on to draw the boy, the fox, the horse, the mole. They're looking up at the moon. They're wondering how things look from the moon. Charlie Mackesy says, "Be curious." Being curious has allowed me to shift my perspective on many things. And it was actually something that was taught to me. I was always curious, but it just never led to anything reasonably good. Remembering that we're only looking through a keyhole here. I go back to that because it allows you to have compassion for yourself and others. But if you will be curious about that other person, about their experiences, and why they are the way they are, let that in. If
Yeah.
you will approach it with curiosity, you will give space for the perception to shift.
And to get to learn the person, which is so interesting because it's never what you think, right? When you have these
Mm-mm.
first encounters and you're starting to develop friendships or relationships, it's all in context of our own past and what we're introjecting and projecting onto and around. And to have these experiences of unfolding is such a beautiful reminder of in our childhood, we have this huge fountain of consciousness, just picking up on everything and like observing and sensing. And as life goes on, there's responsibilities and maturity that has to come along. So we start having to like choose what we're picking up and what we're focusing on. It's like each one of us has had to make compromises to what we're allowing into our awareness or not based on what we've needed to do. That is like the ultimate distortion filter because like we don't know what we don't know. We don't remember. I don't remember my own blind spots or what I've been filtering out for growth, survival, whatever the moment calls for. It's always amazing. I feel like that there's so much insight and wisdom in others' experiences and how they've prioritized. Yeah, it's humbling to realize we don't know what we don't know.
I completely agree. If you allow yourself to be curious about the other person, It unplugs you from judgment or to be curious about the situation. You will find answers that were so unexpected but so accurate.
Yeah.
And you will have a greater understanding, a different perspective. That is my experience. That's what I know. I'm not saying I do it every time. I really try. I do know that it's a way out
Yeah.
of being caught in that other web. Goes on to say, life is difficult, but you are loved. And the boy says, so you know all about me? Yes, said the horse. And you still love me? The horse says, we love you all the more. I have been on both sides in the sense of I have been very, very skeptical, where when people would say, well, the glass is half full. Why can't you see the glass is half full? That I was so skeptical that it's half full of what? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's how skeptical I was, to the point where I have a difficult time imagining any form of true unconditional love here in this existence. And again, that's a reflection of me and my experiences. I do know this one thing. I believe that this might be the closest thing to unconditional love that we all experience. And I know that parents love their children, but I am telling you through what I have experienced, what I have seen in my own child, and what I have witnessed in the sessions and the people that I have been given the amazing opportunity to work with. Because, like I said, everyone is extraordinary. I really find that the love for a child to their parent is actually unconditional. Even a parent is cruel, unkind, abusive. Even the child creates boundaries when they become an adult. They try to protect themselves, they do things, whatever. They still love their parents.
I think that one comes, it's interesting because I would have totally different answers for that, different moments in my life, almost contrasting. It's going back to that idea of you were talking about looking at the tree and taking that moment. If we do the same and make, like Ram Dass says, to turn people into trees. When you walk through a forest, you don't walk through the forest saying, oh, that one's got not enough branches. That one has too many leaves. That one's too big of a tree. We're in the forest, that vein of thinking on a very literal level. Our parents are us. And anything we hold
Yep.
towards them comes right back to us on an unconscious or maybe conscious level because biologically we have some of the same Lego pieces in here and
Yes. The reason I say children hold this unconditional love to their parents, when we go back to heal a person, it always seems almost always to go back to these relationships.
yeah, I believe that.
The child has absolutely loved their parents. I guess to me, that's the most amazing thing, the love of a child, the love of pets, animals.
Yeah.
If you get the opportunity for that, definitely falls in that category. I'm one of these people that's curious, have leaned on the side and very much been the one holding the flag for skepticism. So just know that it's not that I'm on a quest for unconditional love. I believe, for me, my experience indicates a child's love for their parent, even if the child resents the parent or doesn't have a good relationship with the parent, there's hurt underneath that because of the love that's there.
Yes. Yes. I think that that almost brings in this, for me, an invitation to reflect on what I consider love to be.
Hmm.
Because then it brings in ideas of actions, behaviors, demeanors, perceptions. But I do think that you nailed it. I think it's this depth of feeling, how deep into your feelings, the thing you're interacting with, thinking about, you let go into you and be a part of you as you emote and process.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's where it's at. Ugh, I'm groaning because of what it takes if you get too far off the path. Thinking back on my own life, not saying, speaking for anybody else, definitely you get too far off the path.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Hitting the ground. And as you get to know Gabe and I more, you will definitely understand what we're talking about. You will know that we know what we're talking about. The story says, "Sometimes I think you believe in me more than I do," said the boy. I love this. The horse says, "You'll catch up." Thinking back in my life, I have been fortunate to have true friends and really wonderful people in my life. I mean, really, my life, but I have cultivated this. I have cultivated this. I have made sure that I absolutely created space for this in my life, knowing the value of the people that I am so fortunate enough to have relationships with, to share space, to exchange energy. And those are the people that we'll be bringing on. You'll be meeting them through us. I hold such an honor and respect and humility for anyone I consider a close person in my life. The other thing that I can think of is when I look back, are true mentors. I had two women who were mentors to me when I was very young, and then another one when I was in my late 20s. These women were profoundly impactful on my life. I couldn't see the value of who I was. I was not looking at myself that way.
Mm.
These people held that space, my true friends, and these true mentors that I was so fortunate to have and to know, and still going forward in my life. The people that I have in my life, I've known for goodness. Gabe, I've known Gabe over 20 years.
Mm.
Poor Gabe, just kidding, but for real, that's really great truth for me. If you are gifted with good relationships and good people in your life, be worthy of it. Honor people. To have those people in your circle, it's priceless. It is priceless. That's what you get to take with you. I always joke, I was born into a family that was extremely religious. I used to say, I don't think God's going to ask us what religion we are when we die. Of course, this was really frowned upon. I used to go back to, I think God's going to ask us how we showed up, our relationships, and how we treated others. I'm going to stick with what I have believed since I was a child on that. Know that I am grateful, humbled, and honored for the people that I do have in my life. And I hope everyone else has the same.
Agreed.
The fox never really speaks, whispered the boy. No, and it's lovely he is with us, said the horse. To be honest, I often feel I have nothing to say, said the fox. Being honest is always interesting, said the horse.
Mm.
There's an integrity there.
Yeah.
The solitude and the reservation of the fox, Gabe.
Oh man, I can't even count the times in my life that I've been that fox out of reasons that at the moment were beyond my understanding. Fear of not being accepted, or like the fox says, not saying something interesting or the wrong thing, shutting down and having a silent suffering amidst amazing people or amazing opportunities or events, and having this whole other experience because of my own process or decision making. And I'd worked jobs before where I was interacting with people who were living very different lives than me. It was difficult to make sense of and to find a sense of belonging in that space because I had no idea, and I was so caught up in measuring expectations, and I would lift them up on pedestals around me, and I would feel so small next to them. And that led me for years of my life just being like a wallflower, not fully understanding just how repressed I was being with myself, or how harsh that is.
What broke you through that where you started to recognize that in yourself or that you had accepted that?
Ah, that's a good question. I think in that situation, it was like the last drop in the bucket. There was a bucket building up in my psyche and my body that I ignored for so long. And this goes back to the that idea that like sometimes we don't realize the limits till we cross them, you know?
right?
Yeah. Don't know where that
Cal.
line is till we trip on it. And I had like there was like constant thoughts in the background of but I would repress them out of shame or convince myself that this was something that was inherently related to my own self-worth, so it made sense to put myself in that position and that space. And I think my system had an overload of that. I think one of the best decisions I made was to create space to see what other paths life had for me. I had convinced myself to chase metaphoric carrots and all sorts of gold, shiny things dangling around me as if that was the path to happiness that really was all I'm after. Still, luckily, have a lot more of it along the way now, but I've reoriented my sailboat to, to
Change
kind
your
of face that.
trajectory.
Yeah, and slow down too, so I can, like your mom said, look at the trees and see that there's a lot of beauty around.
Yeah. Even now, I will look at a tree now all the
Yeah.
time because of what she said to me. I never want to lose that connection again. I also find that people who are like the fox, this character, when they speak, it's so interesting.
Hmm.
If they are indeed honest, I find those people the depth. I'm not one of them, but I really find those people
Shh.
just.
Be nice to my friend Michae.
I'm kidding, but I find the depth in someone who's honest when they speak. I do want to hear what they have to say. I'm very interested in their perspective, their opinions, and I'm also interested in knowing them because I know that they've taken the time to step back, observe, still participate and be present. Kind of
Yeah.
love that about the fox. Different perspective or different view on the fox.
No, I love that. Yeah.
There's a lot of foxes amongst us. Gabe, you're definitely someone who has a great perspective and has some depth.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm hoping to catch myself and keep myself fed so I don't get caught in any traps and threaten moles.
I love it so much. There's something I haven't told you, said the horse. What's that? Said the boy. I can fly, but I stopped because it made other horses jealous.
Hmm.
The boy says, well, we love you whether you can fly or not. Jealousy, I consider it to be an indicator. But I want to talk about the other side of it, if we can, where you may have held yourself back because it upset somebody else.
Right.
Where did you say it was okay for you to be less so somebody else could be more? It just hit me. This was brought to my attention where I was actually asked this about someone who owed me money. What was said to me was, why are their needs more important than yours?
Hmm.
That for me was somebody took the blinders off. They lifted the veil. This tally just went through my head of how many times I had done that to where
Yeah.
I'd gotten to the point that I would let another person treat me this way or allow this to go on. I'm going to share this about me. So I have 3 degrees. I have certificates and so forth. I have 2 bachelors and masters, and I'm not saying this in a braggadocious way. I have these. I put myself through college. I came from a family where they didn't have the understanding to believe. I even think that there was any value to me being educated to higher education. I worked and I did all these things and I did it without student loans because I couldn't qualify for that. Couldn't qualify for any of those things. I had to get grants, scholarships. I couldn't qualify for things because my family had too much money. The things that I went through, I learned so much in all of that. When I finished my degrees, there were members in my family who went to great lengths to shame me, to insult me, to be really cruel and even vindictive towards me about my degrees.
Wow.
What is interesting is way before they ever approached me in this way and how they chose to show up, I actually knew already. that I was never supposed to bring up my degrees, which I don't in general, okay, that I was never supposed to refer to when I was in university. I wasn't supposed to discuss these things. That has been so profoundly shoved down my throat, branded into me in my family in many, many different ways. I'm sharing this not in condemnation, but in understanding where in your life have you hidden your light of who you are,
Mm.
or something that you have done, or something that's about you that you worked so hard for that others cannot even comprehend what you went through for that, and they've degraded you for it. And I think
Wow.
this happens to everybody. I never took my degrees out. I've never hung them. And it was something that, again, was pointed out to me. I used to say, oh, I don't need to hang those up. I know who I am. But the truth, the real truth, the honest truth of this, the core, didn't want to deal with any more of this with my family.
Wow. Phew. Wow.
I'm putting this out there to say to anyone listening, where have you hidden your light? And I'm not saying getting a degree, that is not the point. I'm saying to you, where have you hidden your light? Whatever it is, it was not a situation of, I'm so proud I have this. I don't believe that about anyone out there that I'm referring to. Where did you stop flying because you made the other horses jealous?
Hmm. Wow. As you're describing this, I'm imagining you and I have talked about this before, Michelle, how money can come and go pretty fast,
Oh,
either way,
God.
in or out. But our time here is a finite amount. That is the ultimate way we invest. It's ourself that we're investing into. So to imagine how much effort, time, energy it took for you to go after something you wanted and that you got, and then feel the need to hide it, that's so hard to have to navigate. Yeah. And I so much relate to it because a lot of the things I like are more creative and not always perceived as plausible paths to success or safety, security, however it came across. I could not help but put my energy there. So for a long time, a huge portion of myself was always kept under the curtain, somewhere far away from the stage, for the sake of protecting the part of me that I was really honoring by doing those things. Like
Wow.
it came from a deep place. And I imagine you too, like the amount of energy it takes.
I don't even have degrees in anything that I wanted.
Hmm,
Everybody was telling me what I should be doing.
hmm,
I'm not speaking about this with regret. I'm speaking about it with understanding. And I hope that that comes across that way, but also with a trust and a knowing that life is always going to work out for you and it's going to bring you back. Always, 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 in every way it can, to connecting with that divinity that is within you
yeah,
in whatever way, shape, or form, allowing it to express. I want to put that out there for anybody that has built an entire career, an entire life, as I say from a different book Stephen Covey wrote. Put your ladder up against the wrong wall. You climb to the top, you look around and, oh, this is so not what I want. You spent all that effort and energy, right? As a person who has done this, but also that you have hidden anything that you accomplished or who you are because of someone else's, what they were putting out towards you.
yeah.
As the story goes on, they all climb on the horse's back and they fly. Such a magnificent ride. Again, get the audiobook, listen to this. You're going to love it. It's so worth it. It's going to be the best hour you have. What you discover when you let yourself fly is that you're free.
Mhm.
If you can start to find ways to step into that space, passion of yours is taking a painting class, a pottery class. I'm not saying it even has to be something creative. Maybe it's that you joined us here and you're going to start reading books with us or
Yeah.
listening to us go on about books. just these things and whatever it is. Maybe it's you want to learn a foreign language. I don't know. Maybe you want to grow an herb garden. I have no idea. I've known multiple people where they've gone back. They may have the degrees, but they always wanted to be something else and they've gone back and learned the trade, whatever it is. Take a step towards that.
Mm.
And you're going to start to feel your soul, you're going to feel your engine start to come back up, start to feel your energy come back up, your enthusiasm for life. It doesn't matter if it's learning a sport or going on that walk and finding the tree after everything Gabe and I have
Yeah.
said, learning to ski. I don't know what it is, but I am begging and encouraging you at the same time to find that passion. Let yourself fly, let yourself step into that and take one step towards it. I don't care if it's that you buy a magazine or print off a picture and you cut that little and you make it small and you put it in your wallet or you make it on the face of your phone, whatever it is, you are going to start to find that it is so affirming, it is so healing. You're going to start to draw on a community that supports you.
I have this unshaking feeling that there is a blueprint inside each of our hearts that is part of a much larger blueprint that really could create a very beautiful world around us if we can connect to it. And I think Miche's spot on to do what you like because you deserve it. It'll make you feel better and you'll magnetize more beautiful things.
It's so true. It really will. You'll be amazed, even if you have to straddle the fence for a while, even if you're creating a side hustle, whatever it is, let yourself start to take a step in that direction because that is the space of getting the cup of coffee and catching your breath.
Yeah.
That playfulness, and you will start to feel your life. It's going to resuscitate you.
It can transmute the feeling of the burden of obligation that oftentimes starts weighing on us into that joy and wonder and excitement about getting to wake up and have that cup of coffee, that moment for you to really marinate in it and know you deserve it. And like that, that's what life is about. It's not about the other way around. I really believe everything we do changes when we change how we feel when we do it.
Oh my gosh, right? So I think that's a great place for us to leave off today. Putting that out there, let your mind wonder and wander into that space and what you could do to take a step forward where you let yourself fly and where you're free. Whatever it is, no matter how small, take that step forward. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everybody.